This is Wing It. We wing it. So we're gonna start. Welcome back. Wing It Podcast, goosedigital.com. Who do we have?
Robin Kroll.
Jen Pugsley.
Adam Thomson.
Adam. Oh, Michael Turksani. I always forget that. Adam, nice to meet you.
Yes.
Face to face.
Thanks for having me.
I guess last night was partly too the Insurance Business Awards.
Yep.
Yeah.
Why were you in town?
Was nominated for Young Gun of the Year. So
Awesome.
it was
Good
cool.
for you. Congrats
Yeah,
on that nomination. That's wild.
Thanks.
Have you been out to that event before?
No, it's my first time to Toronto. First time to the
First
big city.
time?
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. And you came to see us. That's awesome.
I did. Yeah, for sure. I got the invite. I wanted
Cool.
to make my way up here.
From
so.
Calgary.
Yes.
Toole Peet.
Toole Peet Insurance.
Navicord broker.
Yes.
Navicord broker. Why don't you give us a little intro?
Okay. Yeah. So I've been at Toole Peet Insurance now for about 8 years. I'm a commercial account executive. Work on various different programs, provincially, nationally, locally, as well too. I try to bring some digital aspects into a lot of the accounts that we try to do, into the programs that we try to manage as well too. How do we make things efficient? How do we scale business as well too with a lot of these programs? So it's just about looking at insurance a little bit different. When I came into it, it's just insurance is just so antiquated sometimes. Like we're mailing out paper. And I see all the paper. Wow. And it drives me absolutely insane.
Yeah.
It really does. And I know even on your last podcast with Apollo here, they were saying that they don't even have a printer. I'm like, that's sweet. I really like that idea.
I'm not sure I'm there yet, but
I can't be there yet because I still need my printer, and the paper is such a key thing. But it's interesting too, like it's just in an insurance process. It's like, okay, we'll buy the insurance online, or you'll apply for it online, and you do all these other things, and then you get your invoice. And how do you think you get your invoice?
Yeah.
Paper.
They mail it.
Yeah.
They mail it. So you're just not closing the loop there. Like that's really what you need to do, is just close that loop and say, here's your invoice. We just email it to you. Oh, and just click this button and you make an online payment. Like
for sure.
That's
So
where it needs to go.
8 years at Toole Peet?
Yeah.
Wow.
Congrats.
That's good.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
We were talking earlier just about kind of the changes in the landscape and what you're seeing. Like, what is, maybe before we get into some of the bullets that I know we want to go over, like, because we're in meetings every day, almost every day it feels like, Robin, right?
Oh, yeah.
But why don't you give us a sense of like just kind of how you see kind of the next few years evolving for your world?
Yeah, for sure. For me in my world and being a producer, I see insurance needing to evolve. And people always talk about insurance changing. Like everyone's talking about change.
Yeah.
I don't think things change. I just think things evolve. And it's about taking the little steps. And each little step that you take is part of that evolution and part of that growth. We were talking earlier about having a vision and just saying, here's what we're envisioning. And for me, when I look at insurance, there's a lot of people, there's a lot of process, there's a lot of framework, there's a lot of tradition as well too. And that's part of sometimes the hurdle. That's part of breaking down some of these barriers to be like, well, can you do it like this? Can it work like this? Well, I don't know. You got to go try.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
You
the
got to
first
try.
step.
Yeah.
Always is, did we go and try?
Yeah.
And try to do this online platform or try to do this marketing initiative. And if you don't do it, you don't know what works and what doesn't work.
Well, it's one of the things that we talk a lot about is, even the thought of drawing a box and trying something, but thinking of it as a pilot, right?
Yeah, and being ready to fail and saying, you know what, if you fail, if you've learned something from that and you're able to then move another direction, that's actually a win, right?
I believe so too. Like I believe everything is, and not to get too like philosophical, but I do believe everything has a purpose of why you're going through this, why you're experiencing this. And part of that big thing is being okay to fail. Because you will never succeed if you do not fail. And we've done a lot of online programs that just flopped straight up. They just, it's, and one of the bullet points was, you build it and they will come. Like, they don't.
No.
They don't. Sorry.
No.
You can have high hopes and good wishes and everything else like that. But that's not where the rubber hits the road really on a lot of these things. So you have to go out, you have to try, be like, okay, this is how much money we spent on this initiative. This was the margin we were looking for, and the whole thing just tanked. And it's almost like, okay, when do you pull the pin and just get out of there, rework it, rethink it, go back to the drawing board and say, let's run at this again on a different kind of angle. Was it the product?
Yeah.
Was it the process? Was it the marketing?
Technology?
Was it technology? Did it work correctly? Like, there's so many different factors that go into the recipe. I always call it a recipe.
Yes.
Because you're really trying to build that recipe to say, how much FaceTime do you need? How many do you have to do a phone call? That, like, for me, I always look at the associations and people that do have influence, much more influence than I would have as an insurance producer. How do I leverage that relationship a little bit better as well too? And how do you enable people to go and market for you?
Yeah, absolutely.
People marketing for you. That's some of the best marketing you could ever do.
So maybe we'll come back to the future, the next couple of years, and some of these, philosophies or ideas that you have in terms of putting together the right success plan or the parts of success and some of the specific areas that you have in mind. Why don't we go over a little bit about, I know, Jen, you wanted to talk about specific kind of specialty e-commerce. I know we're doing a bit that with you guys. So do we want to kick that off, Jen? You want to kick into some of the e-commerce platform?
So I thought we could talk. I mean, we, like as Toole, Peet's been a client of ours since, I think, roughly 2016.
Yeah.
We were on a path with you guys to relaunch a niche e-commerce site that you guys have had for a long, long time.
Yeah.
And then we kind of relaunched it in 2017, I believe, and wrapped a marketing automation platform and program around it. So I just, looking at these niche e-commerce platforms compared to some of the regular lines like home and auto, they seem to perform better. They seem to be more focused.
Yes.
So just wanted your kind of thoughts and stuff around the niche.
It's just so hard to do something on a general sense.
Yeah.
Like I always say, it needs to be vanilla. There doesn't need to be a lot of variance in what the outcome is going to be. It's really nice going in when you know everyone is going to pay this. This is what everyone is going to pay. Then you can market your price and say, this is how much this costs. When you're looking at like a home and auto, it's just so complicated. And now you've got the market that's kind of working against you in a lot of different ways as well too. And, automobile and insurance is just so hard to make a dollar right now in doing that. So I do see a need for digital and moving forward in that space for sure.
Anyway,
but how do we get to that space, and making it digital should make it more profitable in the long run, because then your costs are going to be less. The other thing that I see as well too, when you're looking at that, is the jobs. Unfortunately, like, that's the reality for the insurance industry right now. There's a lot of jobs in it. And then you've got disruptors, or maybe it's not disruption necessarily, but it's a different type of platform where it's online. And I don't need to hire another processor to do this. And I just need to build a machine that will do that work for us.
Take those levels of some of that work out of the equation can be digitized. How do you, so talk a little bit about that program specifically, because I think before, when we were talking before we were rolling, it was 09?
09 we went live with our
That was before your time, right?
It was, I came on in 2011, so that was already running for about 2 years. We didn't actually turn a profit on that first system for about 4 years.
Okay.
So that's how much it kind of time
that
it
was
took.
System and everything.
System and marketing and getting people to the site and driving that. So I guess a little rundown of the Real Pro-Sure program that I manage. We insure real estate agents for general liability. So if they leave a door open, if somebody gets injured, essentially if they're getting a lawsuit, they need to have protection here. General liability for real estate typically is not mandatory. It's optional. So people can have it. Some of them might have it. Some of them don't.
Right.
So that's the opportunity for us that we see truly with this space, is it just needs to lead with education. And once these real estate agents are educated on their risk, and we've got a good, easy solution here on the back end, and I would do a presentation and I say, here's some claims examples. The biggest thing I find is connecting the insurance legal world into reality. And once you do that successfully for a lot of people, they'll go online and just buy it.
Yeah.
Right.
Something clicks. I'll do a presentation, and Lindsay's back at the office, and she's looking at the system. And you can tell.
Already rolling
Right
in.
when I get back in the office. She
Yep.
goes, that was a good one. We got 5 people that went online and bought it during the presentation.
Wow.
That's the best kind of marketing that you can do, right? It's so easy sometimes is just getting that opportunity there, right?
Yep.
So.
And the sticker price is not, going back to like your point about these niche products, like it is vanilla in a sense.
Yeah.
And it's a small premium.
Exactly.
So I think from putting your credit card in perspective, it doesn't become a $3,000 premium that you're starting to get.
Exactly. And that's when we're talking like home and auto, that is a different kind of purchase. Because my product's $200 per year. And if I'm looking at a home and auto package, you can easily be up to, $3,000, $4,000. Yeah. And it is the public ready yet to make that big of a purchase with this big of a risk and this big of a liability online? No. Are they prepared to make that jump, right? Because that is a definite jump.
I think these specialty products, sorry, Robin.
No, I was just going to say it's really interesting from, thinking from the customer perspective, right? So, a specialty product, is that really, that's the right type of product because of the type of product, the price point, and maybe the pain points that you're alleviating that are, I hate to say, well, when you say vanilla, and then it's fairly clear. So it means that it's a little bit easier to figure out what is that problem and really make that whole path to purchase so seamless.
Think about development too. You're trying to develop something and you're like, okay, let's do automobile insurance. How many different types of automobiles are out there? How many different type of rating structures are you going to have?
Exactly.
Think about all that development that would need to go. For us, it's really easy because a lot of the online programs that we do, there's one option, maybe 2 options, sometimes 3 options.
Yep.
So I like having a 3 option max and saying it's either this, or this.
Yep.
And sometimes we just have one option. People say and we just make it the highest possible denominator possible, and that insures everybody.
Yep.
It's good, and it's a low cost.
And I think there's something around, like we were talking about earlier when we were offline. But even still, whatever your investment is in your e-commerce specialty product, there's still this whole notion of it's not just build it and they will come. It's build it, and then there's offline marketing, like we were talking about your presentations. There's online marketing. There's automation. There's in order for those tools, you see the return on investment on those tools, right?
Exactly.
Well, you guys have probably learned a lot in terms of driving that awareness and adoption within your customer base to use the system. Yeah. Obviously, when you came in, you had a bit of like they had been running for a while, but still, you got to keep that. You got to keep them aware of it, right?
Well, when we had that program was running, we did the online, and then we kind of did the brokerages. So you're either a real estate brokerage or you bought it online, and there was a few associations, real estate associations, that had already kind of signed on and said, this is something we can get behind. Let's just mandate it through the association. So with this real estate program, there's 3 lines of distribution. There's associations, there's brokerages, and then there's individuals. So you kind of have to make as many options as possible for that to say what type of purchase is this going to be. And you get somebody to sometimes purchase this online. They go talk to their real estate broker about it. Hey, I just bought this thing online. It's pretty good. Maybe we can get a volume discount if we get the brokerage signed on, which we can do. And then I get a call from the broker saying, hey, I've got half of my agents. They've already signed online. Let's get a brokerage policy going. Get the brokerage policy going. Then they talk to the association sometimes and they say, hey, I got my brokerage signed on to this. This is something you guys should check out. So sometimes it works that way up the ladder. Yep. Sometimes it works the opposite way.
And it does, so you got some options. Yeah. It's prepackaged, and then it generates policy docs. Yeah. They can, correct me if I'm wrong, there's some level of portal that was built into it that we built to request changes, little things, right? So it's pretty, for these products that are probably, you can't afford to really touch them. No. So it pretty much is in a box type of environment. And how do you find now, after so many years of having that product, you find that clients are just continuously using it? You talked earlier about just kind of reminding them to go back through the flow again and making sure they don't skirt the process.
Yeah, you do need to do that. You need to have those touch points. Like, those touch points are just so key. Because it's not mandatory. They don't sometimes have somebody in their ear saying, you do need to have this. They have me in their ear. That's what I need to do to say, hey, did you go online? Did you renew your policy? Yeah. You should carry this. No one's requiring you to carry this, but as a good, prudent business owner, you're gonna need this. And real estate's kind of an interesting industry, I find, a lot of times as well too, because I look at other industries, like, any trades for that matter. general liability. It's always a requirement.
Yes, exactly.
So I go and sell my $700,000 home, let's say now, and I'm going to get a real estate agent in it, and they don't have a general liability policy. But when I hire a general contractor, let's say, to develop my basement, I'm going to ask them, a general consumer is going to say, do you have insurance? Are you bonded? That's just a question that you're going to ask. Do consumers ask real estate agents if they have insurance?
I've never asked.
Have you guys ever asked that?
No. I mean, I know now because I've been working with Toole Peet for so long.
That's good. I like that.
That I would know, but prior to that, I would never have known. Yeah.
And it's interesting with all these marketing things that we've done in videos and things like this, and I'm talking about it, and there'll be like a camera guy there, and I'm like talking about it, and then after he's like, really? Is that all true? Should I be asking my real estate agent if they have insurance or not? I'm like, well, yeah, that's kind of what this video is about. So yeah, you should ask them. It's okay to talk about insurance. Yeah. It's not a dirty word.
Your real claims, real stories about the Rolex. Everybody that's watching this should go watch that one. Like that was.
Yeah, those ones are real. Like it's all these different situations that can happen. And then with this program, you need to take it back into like a technical sense. And here's the example is we've had Fort McMurray, the fires. I was up there 6 months after the fires doing a presentation on real estate. And the timing of it was interesting. It was very eye-opening to see that, especially as an insurance broker. I've never seen anything quite like Fort McMurray 6 months after the fire. And I hope I never have to again, to be honest. But, I had a list I did a presentation, and we had a lineup of agents afterwards that said, the one lady said, I lost 7 listings in these fires. 7 listings, and I am out for home staging, photography, all my fees, all of these things. And they said, will the insurance policy do anything for me? And at that time, no, it didn't. We didn't have anything that was going to cover it. So you go back. I went back to Calgary, and I said, we should do something here. So we went to Intact and said, let's create a little coverage here. Let's put some coverages here for a business interruption. So we made a form, and then we just included it, and there's no premium and there's no deductible. So then I went back up to Fort McMurray 3 years after that and said, here's what we did, guys. Because of this, this was the outcome. So something negative can turn into something positive, not only benefiting Fort McMurray, but everyone across Canada that's insured through our program. And it's just bolstering that value that much more. And this is unique coverage here that we've created. So it's giving us a little bit more of that competitive edge that we were looking for.
It's a great story, and it really adds to the value that a broker can bring by looking out for your customers, looking for needs that they might not even know they have, and being able to deliver that additional value.
Well, that's why I think it's so interesting. Like Toole Peet's, how long have they been around?
1897.
1897. So really legacy, long term. It's gone through multiple transformations over the years, likely in terms of all this stuff, but can really innovate in one of these in lots of areas that you guys are innovating, but certainly like in an area like this, to your point, Robin, like really create something that builds on that customer experience. So I want to talk a little bit about, because one of the things we were up front at the office, you were saying content and how for some of these programs, especially when you're into a niche product like this, how the brokers are becoming, or there's an opportunity to almost become like a content engine for your customers. So why don't you talk a bit about that?
Well, I think it's very important, and we were talking about that as well too. If you're a generalist, it's hard to create content, because what are you going to create content on? But when you are niched and you're a broker in your niche, you got to be creating that content in 2019, and going into 2020 here. Like, this is going to be key, because you need to provide some value right off the top and say, here's some content. This will help you. Whether you buy a policy through us or not, we don't really worry about that on day one. We worry about getting our message across. And like I said, it's all about education as well too. So I'm big on education, and if I can get in front of as many people as possible in the course of a year, then I will do so. And I'll travel around, do a presentation here, do a presentation there. And then you need to complement that also with the digital aspects as well too, to say, here's the content we're going to create. And it, like I was saying earlier as well too, like, content needs to be live. Like, I have situations that happen every single day on my desk, and I go, this would be great for content. Let's start doing it right now. Let's just create this content. We start getting a list together. And definitely shout out to Lindsay Wills for creating all my content as well too. Thanks, Lindsay. So yeah, I have these ideas, or she has an idea, and say, hey, let's run with this. This would be good. And you just need to continue that process. That process never stops. That's like a wheel that's turning, and you should just be pushing out that content as much as you possibly can.
Yeah, I think it, like, for our team too, that kind of takes your content and distributes your content. I definitely see, and this was my point earlier, I see that it's a cut above, and I think it's because it's the guts of those stories that are coming from you guys. And you'll just fire it off and say,
you're not outsourcing the essence of your business, which essentially becomes your content.
It's really important to show the passion.
Yes.
Say, this is why we worry about it. This is why this is important, and to convey that in the content. And I do think that sometimes emotion and how we react to something is going to come out in that. So if you just say, hey, this situation occurred, and you're going to just sub that off to a third-party content creator, you're going to say, here's what happened, just write some stuff about it and this and that. They're not connected to this.
No.
And I think,
they haven't had to deal with it.
Content's a problem all over the place, right? But I think, like, if our message is to our brokers or any other company that we work with, is that it's sort of that it is hard to achieve it, and maybe you can talk a little bit about that, but it's worth it. It's worth it coming from your internal people who deal with this stuff every day. I
think so. I think that, again, like, we can learn so much from other people's mistakes sometimes as well. And there's also sometimes, to be honest, like an entertainment value. Sometimes the best parts of my presentation are just real life claims examples. People love hearing it. It's really interesting, I find. And now my presentation is like 50% claims examples.
Wow.
I just quit talking about stuff, about saying, here's the technical aspects of insurance. This is exactly what you need to know. And this is a general liability form. And this is how we define property damage. And this is how we define bodily injury. That's not going to resonate with somebody.
No.
Like it is going to be with, like, me as an insurance professional. Ooh, I like that. That's good. That's insurance stuff. But I think with people, like I said, it's just connecting that legal insurance world into reality. These are how the principles are applied. And this is what happened in this situation. This is why this real estate agent was held liable. This is what they did, or this is what they said that made the situation that much worse. People want to know about that, right? Yeah, they should know about it.
It's a great point, and you know, as Jen mentioned, for a lot of our clients, content is a struggle, and I see sometimes that they spend such a huge amount of time trying to figure out what is the right content and sourcing ideas, not realizing, you know what, in a single day, you probably have at least 2 or 3 content ideas just based on the conversations that you're having, either it's claims or, you know, in an underwriting capacity, something that happens in a conversation with a client. And that's a great story. And you know what? You don't have to spend hours and hours doing it. You have a story. It can be a paragraph long. Build it and write it in a tone that, as if you're talking to somebody. It's a conversation and a story.
No, and I think any question can turn into content, to be honest, because that person's asking that question and they went out of their day to call my phone to ask me this question. Other people have the same question. They just haven't picked up the phone and called me on it.
That's actually an interesting
Every question is
marketing opportunity for you guys. Questions, and to start publishing all the questions you get. So you guys are doing digital. I know that you guys are using marketing automation platform for a portion of the business. I mean, you have a platform, you put it in their Act On platform. But we did talk a little bit about kind of your view of the customer experience. And I thought this was really good because there's been a lot of discussion lately around choice and kind of just being there for the customer in different areas, whatever that happens to mean for them. So can we talk about kind of the, you know, kind of the digital versus the relationship and the importance of the two working together?
And I think it's really, really important these days because, you know, the handshake, looking somebody in the eye, you can't replace that. They always say you can't replace that, and you truly can't. But what I like to try to do is look at it on 2 different sides of the spectrum, to have it a fully digital, automated portal here, if you want to call it that, or a distribution line, and also have a very traditional distribution line as well too. The traditional distribution line can also funnel directly into the digital. So if you say, and you're doing that presentation, you're shaking hands and you're handing out business cards, and then the last slide is go to the website.
Right.
There's a call to action. Just go to the website. All this stuff that we were talking about, You just click a few buttons and it takes 5 minutes and you got it.
Yeah.
So it's, for me, I just look at it on two different sides of the spectrum and everything kind of in between on that. Eventually, I could see the shift where it's more digital. It's going to eventually go over to that other side here. But I think that's going to take years down the road to really go through that shift. Like I was saying, it's an evolution.
I think, if you compare kind of like the Amazon examples where, people would look at that as but I think people forget that Amazon's reputation didn't come overnight. I mean, it was something that was built over time. So a lot of people trust them now. A lot of people will place an order with Amazon, but it's because you can call their customer service team if you absolutely had to. You can replace that product, no problem. And all the people that tried and did those things paved the way for everyone else to now trust the fact that if I need to go to Real ProSure at the end of this conversation or the webinar, I can, or the presentation, I can actually go and do that, and it's likely gonna work for me. So there's a lot going on behind the scenes to embed that trust in your customer base. It's coming through in content, the ability to pick up the phone if needed.
Yes.
Right. So I think that's kind of a oftentimes not always thought about. It's more like, well, the path of getting there gets lost, right? You kind of need to
or they think, we'll just build it and it's a store and people will go to the store, right?
Especially when they don't even know they need the policy.
Exactly. Like if you just open up a store, and I look at that as well too, like any online portal is just, I look at it as just a brick and mortar store. It's just online that people are going to go to. So any other business, you're going to just open up a spot and say, I'm selling widgets or whatever I'm selling. I'm selling insurance policies. You're not going to do any marketing. You're not going to put out a sign. You're not going to do this and that. Is that going to work? No. Like, it won't. And it won't work in real life. And it won't work in the virtual reality as well too, right? Yeah. So it's a different type of process that you kind of need to go through sometimes as well too, and just look at it as like just a big picture to say, I'm still a person. I can still talk to people. People can still call me. They can still reach out to me or my team, and we're there for them. Or a lot of people too, we send out a email blast, and some people just go online and buy it. We don't ever talk to them. Yeah. That is the one thing that I will say with building any digital platform. If you know too many people's names, it didn't work right. That means you know too many people's names. Oh, I know this person on the system, this person, they called me. That means something's not working correctly. There's too many in there, right? Too much touch points as well too. There's too many questions. It's not simple enough. Yeah. And like any digital platform, you go back and tweak it. Like pretty much every year, you should be going back saying, here's all the questions that we got this year. Keep track of that as well too. Here's the issues. Like, can we figure out a different, sometimes it's just the wording. It just doesn't make sense in most people's minds to say, now that when I tell them that, this is what you have to put in this box. Okay, that makes sense.
So change the site. Make sure you change the site now, right? Like go back and, like you said, adjust that language.
Yeah, and maybe that's a good, I did have that on my kind of bullets. Like maybe you can talk about that, because I know that we've gone through several iterations, right? Tweaking messaging, and maybe you can talk about, because and it's very easy to get hung up on, on site launch or
perfection.
D-Day.
Perfection,
it's like it's got to be this, right?
Yeah, it's just not going to be there.
No.
And for me, and my philosophy is always like, once you're over 90% there, just pull the trigger. Yeah. Just pull the trigger and just see what happens. You're always going to be striving to this 100%. We're 100% ready to go. It's never 100%. There's always going to be bugs, even when you think it's 100%.
Or you want to change it. Or you want to evolve it a bit.
And you should be adapting to that, and not so much to say, this was the idea, this is going to be the outcome. Yeah. You don't always determine the outcome. The consumer sometimes can guide you at the end to kind of finish everything up and wrap it all up. And there is going to be some pain points on that for those first couple customers going online. And that's just a reality. That's a reality just in business and dealing with people as well too. Like first couple customers can be a little rough. We don't know exactly what we're doing. Once you have that experience, you can go back and just do it. So I'm a big believer that if it's pretty much ready to go and it works, so just make sure that it works and it's pretty much ready. Doesn't have to be flashy or fancy or anything else like that. If it is, that's great, but just pull the trigger and just do it.
Cool. Great. Well, I think we got a bit more time. What are we sitting at here? Okay, we're at that 30-minute mark. This is great.
Yeah, sweet.
Time flies.
It's good.
Yeah. let's maybe get, and you know, feel free, you guys, if you want to throw something on. I think what would be great to hear from you is, you know, what does the next year, kind of year to two, look like, and maybe some of the big trends that you're seeing around around the commercial side, and you know, using some digital, and what are some kind of priorities, if you're, maybe you could provide some advice to people that are not already doing it, and just kind of the next 2 year horizon in your world.
Well, I think a lot of people are just intimidated right out of the gate with sometimes going digital.
Yeah.
What does digital mean? Well,
Yes.
sometimes it just means like an online application.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't have to be expensive. It does not have to be fancy. You can set up a Google Drive doc. You can build an application, and that is the start of an online platform.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes on the end of that, you can take that application, and I guess I'll back it up. If you're doing a digital platform, you need to have authority. That is sometimes the biggest hurdle. And people say, I want to do a digital platform. Can you bind policies? You yourself as a brokerage.
Yeah, we're
And
talking
This is-
about this. Yeah.
This is why I was talking
Yeah.
about the
The
beginning,
BUA.
about it being the pen,
Exactly.
the program, right? With these niche products, you're not really, I mean, you jump in here, but you're not really handcuffed to the carrier in the same way that you are when you're underwriting every single.
It's different, right? Like, they do need to trust you in saying, this is what I'm going to do. If it fits inside this box, can we press go? Can
Right.
I bind this stuff right now?
Right.
And if it fits inside the box, you can. If it doesn't, you just need a kick out to say, we're still going to insure these people if they get kicked out of the system.
Yeah, we're just gonna.
And we're just going to do it
Yeah.
on a traditional
Right.
basis.
Yep.
But if we can get 80-90% of the people going through, it's great.
Yeah.
And maybe if a lot of people are getting kicked out, like, why is that? Maybe you have to go back to the market to say, I need a little bit more authority here. Open up what we can do as well too, right? We noticed that with yoga. We did the Yoga Association of Alberta online. So we insure about 150 yoga instructors in Alberta. They just go online, they pay for their policy. It's $150 a year. And it's a very simple system, wasn't complicated or anything else like that. But it's interesting sometimes with the yoga stuff that comes back, is they're like, you know, what about goat yoga? Can we allow goat? And so everyone comes to me and says, you must love yoga. I've never done yoga. That's the funny thing. And I'm like, I do the yoga program. They're like, what about cat yoga? What about, there was the other one where it was like nude yoga. So we have to put on these exclusions on the online policy. It's like, no goats, no cats, no
For
nudity.
real?
This is a real exclusion under the policy.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so it's funny when you start going into that. I've always find it entertaining when you're
Yeah.
like,
You've
didn't think we
you've
would
learned
put
a lot
on-
about yoga, I bet.
I have,
Yes.
I have.
What about the nude goat yoga? Because that would be like a double kick out.
We're gonna have cats, goats, nudity. The yoga's really got it all.
That's
So
not very nice for our listeners. Now they're going to have to be
I-
picturing nude goat yoga.
I knew this was going to come out.
did you?
Just kidding.
Well, the goats are nude, so.
But what I find interesting about the yoga and the real estate and the real brochure, and this is probably a totally different podcast, but
Yeah.
I'm still really intrigued why these super niche, super specialty do better than even like contractors insurance online.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's or small business. Like it's just
It's too many different
Variables.
factors. There's too
Yeah.
many variables. Like, it's not vanilla enough.
I guess.
not- yeah,
It's
yeah.
not to
specific
say
enough.
like, here's my product. You're not
Yeah.
gonna build an entire store. You're gonna sell one product to say, this is the product, this is the
Yeah.
price.
Yeah.
And it's different than to say, I'll sell contractors policies. Okay, what does that mean? Are you gonna do plumbers? Are you gonna do radon contractors? Like, where is the line in
yeah.
the sand there? And there is going to be a line in the sand, because you can't be everything to everyone.
Yeah.
And that's the reality I think a lot of people need to understand, is you can't just build these systems because your capital injection on day one is so great to get that system to where it needs to be. Then you're looking to say, how many years is it going to take for us to turn a profit?
Yeah.
And it could take 3 or 4 years for sure. Like, that
So-
could be a reality, and it's a long game. The other issue that, I'll comment on with digital as well too is, again, like, it's a super long game that you're looking at to say, how much money should I be putting into this thing, and how much are we going to be getting out?
Yeah.
It's a
Yep.
big hurdle, right?
It's
out of
it's one of the things
day
that
one.
we educate
talk
on,
about,
you know,
yeah.
when we roll into these programs, right, Robin? It's just even understanding how to look at that on a product by product basis, and
Sure.
Right.
And maybe that's, that kind of ties into your, your comment about the niche, right? So if you're looking at niche product, or if you're doing a product by product type of marketing, you're thinking about it with you've got this laser focus on this. So you're looking at the product, and you're really defining who is that target audience, which it's a lot easier when you're looking at yoga instructors or real estate versus general business. And then you start to go down the path and think, okay, what's a problem we're trying to solve? How are they searching for this? So how is it that we are sure that we're searchable because we're using the right words, and we're putting out a plan that is really going to tie to the audience that we're trying to engage.
Yes.
And definitely a lot easier to do from a niche perspective when you think about it.
It's so much easier to say, this is it. These are the people that we're going after. We know exactly who we're going after.
We know how much money we make when we
how
write
to go
one,
after them.
right?
Yeah, exactly.
So we can afford after, if we want to try to hit
budget it.
1 or 2 year profitability on this.
Exactly.
Now we know we need to write 1,000 policies or whatever the number is in order to get there.
Well, you got to front load the work. You work for free for the first couple months. You're you're trying to build this program out. You're saying, this is what we need to do. All you're doing is just like any other, IT company right now, or any development company. You're just burning money right at the start.
Yeah.
And so you have to realize that you're front loading all this work to eventually, hopefully, relatively just sit back and just watch this thing do the work. I always look at it you're trying to just build an insurance machine.
Yeah.
You're building this machine. You're going to put it on the internet. You're going to funnel work and business to that machine. That's your job now, is just funneling it into this portal. And, you want as many machines doing as many different things as possible. Yeah. But each one needs to be specific to say, we're going to insure plumbers. Let's insure plumbers. Let's insure welders. Let's insure, any type of contractors that are going to be out there. It needs to be so specific. And then when you, specify to say, this is the type of person, I'm giving you guys all my secrets here, but you go to the association and say, hey, this is an association. You do this. And if you could ever build something and show the association, we've already gone ahead and built this and it's ready to go.
So
you just got to, if you want to give us a green light on this, I'm not saying that you need to mandate it, but if you like it, then we can do it like this. And it's ready to go.
Yeah. And driving value for your membership, right?
Exactly. So that's what it's all about for associations as well, too, is what type of value does that association provide? Insurance can be a great value if it's done correctly, but it's dangerous, especially going through this hard market. Build the program, it's not performing, it's losing the insurance company money, they're pulling the program.
Right.
Now what do you do? First step would probably be freak out. Second step would actually probably be thinking about it to find out, what do we need to do? Can we salvage this thing? And going through this hard market, we're going to have most likely some attrition in some classes as well too in Canada. That's just going to be a reality.
Interesting.
Adam, this has been amazing. I mean, I think we could probably sit here for another half hour easily, but
we could, but I got dinner reservations.
Yeah, you got a dinner reservation. We got a Christmas party kicking too, but I think this has been great. I mean, I can't wait to pick your brain more about some opportunities to drive awareness in some of the products that you have, but you guys are certainly kind of on the cutting edge on some of this stuff for sure, or really kind of are realizing the value of kind of all that, and I really appreciate you taking the time to come talk to us.
Well, I would like to thank you guys as well too for having me out, and all the work that Goose Digital does for me and for our team as well too. We couldn't do it without you guys, so I really appreciate it.
Thanks,
thank you. Yeah,
well, thank you.
We really enjoy working with you guys. So
cool.
Tell Lindsay I said hi.
I will.
Lisa.
I will.
Yeah.
Tell the whole team.
Colin.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers.
Bye.
Peace.